Would you be okay being financially dependent on a man?
I would be okay being financially dependent on a man now. Welcome to the Real and Relatable podcast, where no topic is off limits. We're the girlfriends that keep it real and give you different perspectives, because we know one way isn't always the right way.
Hey guys, welcome to the Real and Relatable podcast. I'm LC.
My name is Kash.
And today we're going to actually touch on a subject that we don't really talk about here on the podcast, but I think is an important aspect of life. So I wanted us to kind of touch on that. And it's about career. So let's just jump right in. Do you think having a career as a woman is important, Kash?
I do think it's important to have a career as a woman.
Why is that?
It's important because I feel like in today's society, oftentimes when a woman does not have her own career or a source of income, sometimes you can see women staying in relationships because of finances.
Yeah.
And sometimes they're unhealthy relationships.
Yeah.
And they're sometimes even abusive relationships, right?
Yeah. Or just unhappy.
Unhappy. Yeah, all the above. Yeah. And to some circumstances of extremes, sometimes men can use that power over a woman. So for me, I've always found it really important to be able to build something for yourself so that you're never 100% reliant on somebody else, not just a man, but somebody else.
Yeah. I agree 100%. Even when I was like really young, I remember asking my mom, Mom, why does everyone work? Because I saw that everyone was working, that she was working even. She said, oh, honey, well, that's just life, you know. Great grandparents worked, your grandparents work, we work, you will work. Back in the days, we would farm as a way of working to provide for our family and our loved ones. In modern days, you have a job, you know, that's just an important aspect of life. So I always knew that it was really important to have some kind of work, some kind of means to earn money to support yourself and your family. So it's always been an important aspect of life for me.
Yeah.
And I think especially for women, to all the points that you just said, so that you are financially independent, you have autonomy, you have, you know, power to do things that you want to do, buy what you want, go where you want, because you have the ability to earn money to take care of yourself and people around you.
Yeah.
So I agree. So Kash, then tell me a little bit about your journey into your career. What was that like? Would you consider yourself a career woman? And then how did that journey evolve?
How would you define a career woman?
Someone who takes pride in what they're doing, and they're growing in that field, going to the next level and focusing on that, not just a job. Would you consider yourself a career woman?
I do consider myself a career woman. My journey has been a little bit interesting because I kind of didn't know where I was going or why. It was never, at first in the beginning of my path, it was never really intentional, but now it's very intentional. So I was very lucky to have things fall in place. It's hard when you're in college, you're in high school, and you're trying to test out and go to college and, you know, declare your major. You're in college and you're thinking, oh my gosh, is this what I want to do?
So tell us specifically about that journey, though, like specific details. Like, what were you thinking you were going to study? How did you switch over? What are you currently doing now?
I mean, I wanted to do marketing. First, I wanted to do psychology, but I remember my sister and I were in the same grade our whole lives. We would always go to the same classes, and we had this child psychology class, which was really interesting and really fun. And we were both kind of jokingly like, hey, you know, this is my major. So I think that because she continued to pursue that as I took a break from college, I thought, oh gosh, I'm not going to copy my sister, even though I felt like, you know, like, hey, we both wanted to do this. Later on, I had friends who said, hey, there's nothing wrong with two sisters going for the same majors. There's families with, you know, sisters that are two lawyers or two doctors or
whole family line.
Yeah, but For some reason, me and her, I was like, I don't want to copy her. I don't want to copy her. So I didn't go for psychology, even though I really was interested in it. Then my second choice was marketing. And I find marketing attractive because you get to be creative.
Yeah.
And problem solve and create things, right? It was
I wish I'd
difficult.
gone to marketing now that I know what I know.
Yes, you would have been amazing in marketing.
Really?
Yes.
Oh.
Because you could apply that into fashion, into multiple different areas, you know?
True.
And then even if you wanted to get like your tech certs and stuff, you can transfer that into tech.
Yeah.
But it was really difficult for me to find any intro into marketing without taking a step down. Because just by chance, I got to the financial industry and I was working in finances, and I did take a job doing advertisement sales as an executive account manager at one point, but I got laid off because newspaper and print was going away.
Yeah.
I couldn't go back to marketing without taking a huge pay cut, and I just didn't want to do it.
Yeah. Okay.
I just thought, I can't do that. I won't take $10,000 of a pay cut.
Yeah.
I know sometimes people say you have to go down to propel up in a different direction or take a lateral move to broaden your landscape.
Yeah.
But I didn't want to take a step down. That's just a personal decision.
Okay.
So I'm just in the financial industry and I'm in management, and I'm really happy with where I'm at right now. And I feel really grateful because I've had so many instances where managers approached me and said, hey, aren't you going to apply for that job? Aren't you going to apply for this management role? And I never thought that I could do it. I never saw myself as somebody who was capable, but they saw that in me. And then that's why I say I'm so blessed. And there's this one manager who has made the biggest impact on my life, and everything that I do, I just think about her, and I admire her so much. I usually don't have women managers. I usually don't work with women. I usually work with men.
Yeah, your industry is very male dominated.
Yeah, the financial industry is very male dominated, like you said. When I had this woman manager, and she's also
amazing.
She's also Hmong.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was like, I don't know, because she had a really strong personality.
Okay.
And I was really happy to work with her, but I was like, I've never been in this situation before, you know? And
wow,
so,
amazing.
Yeah. But when I continued to get to know her, I thought, oh my gosh, she's amazing.
Wow.
Like, I just, everything that she does exudes just something that I really look up to.
Wow.
I've never met anybody like that before. Where I am today in, sitting here with you in Beverly Hills, because I've made my dreams come true, and on many levels.
Yeah.
And it's because of people who believed in me. And so I tried to pay it forward.
Yeah.
And I try to exude that same energy and help build people up, whether it's directly with my direct reports or indirectly, because I realize the power that has.
I agree. We need to see people in positions that we're moving towards, but also exudes the kind of personality and the character that is inspiring. We want to be like, or that we can mold ourselves after. I don't know. I was always a creative child, and I remember being super young, and my uncle would come home from college and bring us little toys, and then ask us, "So, what do you guys want to be when you grow up?" And I said, "I want to be an artist." And I remember him laughing and saying, "You'll never make money as an artist." So I think for a long time, I was like, oh, well, I can't be an artist, so I'm going to be a lawyer, because my parents want me to be a lawyer or a doctor, so I'm going to be a lawyer. So my whole high school years were like kind of dedicated to law, and I was going to pre-law camps in D.C., and I was actually preparing myself for law school, even at high school. And then, but during high school, I was always drawing. I would be up until 3 a.m. just sketching, and my mom would come into my room like,
really?
"What are you doing? Why are you so up?" And I would show her my sketches, and she just loved it. And she was like, "Oh, you know what? I have an idea. You should put a collar on that." And so it was like really funny. And then when I started college, I was a pre-law major, legal studies at UW-Madison. But then I was also doing a double major in design, fashion design. So I was trying to do both at the same time. And it just was a struggle to find time for art studio classes and then law history papers.
Wow.
So I kind of struggled between both for a while. And then I went to study abroad in Italy my last year. And while there, this is like the epicenter of art.
Yes.
So I was like, I can't be a lawyer.
Oh,
I have to be in the arts
It
world
changed
somehow.
you.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I have to really confirm my decision to be in design and fashion design.
Yeah.
And fashion design was sort of my choice of art somehow. I'm not sure how I decided that. I've always loved fashion and looking at fashion magazines, but never really thought too much about it. I just thought it's a job that I know of that would pay. Not like an artist where I'm just painting and you never know when you're going to make money. Instead of going to law school, I went to New York, went to Parsons School of Design, interned at Chanel, and just like really went from there and really focused on that career path because I think because I had a choice and I had to make one decision, it was really important for me to focus and do well in this other career that wasn't really the top choice for my family and my So I really focused on that, and that journey took me to New York. I lived there for 15 years and now in LA, and really sort of climbed up the corporate ladder in that world. And to your point, like I've had some okay managers. I've never had bad managers, which is surprising. It's surprising because I hear a lot of like horror stories in the fashion industry.
Yeah.
So they were all okay, and there were a couple that were amazing, like you said. And so I do model myself after those like really amazing ones. And I'm like, when I become a manager, that's what I want to be. That's how I'm gonna inspire my team, people around me. So that's kind of my journey, how I ended up here in LA.
It sounds to me like you kind of have always been in tune with your intuition a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely try to, and I try to follow what feels right instead of what other people think is right for me.
Yeah.
And, in our culture, I feel like that's shunned upon, especially as a girl. You're supposed to do what your family wants, have that duty, like not just girls, boys too. There's a duty in the family, depending on where you fall in birth order and things like that. I definitely do feel a little bit like the black sheep of the family, but I think now they see that my path was the right path for me, but I think at first it was a huge struggle for everyone. And everyone felt like I was abandoning the family, and I am just ungrateful and just was always doing whatever I wanted.
Like choosing you first. Yeah. Just putting your
But I do think that is important in independence and self-happiness and fulfillment, because I think when you're happy, that's the most important thing.
Yeah. Well, so I'm curious. Take me back to Italy when you were that young version of yourself. What was it that spiked your, like, opened up your world and you're just like, wow. And you're just thinking, I can't make this decision to go into something where I can't feel like I'm being fulfilled. Was it something you saw, or what is it? What was that moment like?
I think it was just being surrounded by beauty and art, something that is very valued in that culture. Art and architecture and this idea of beauty, the golden ratio of beauty, like that's something that they really appreciate and love, and they surround themselves with that. There's a simplicity to the way they live and the way they do things. Even the food, everything is very simple. The ingredients is simple but really delicious. The way they dress is simple but very put together. It just really resonated with me, and I felt like at peace. Like I needed to be around this idea of beauty and peace, and not beauty in like trying to make yourself more attractive, not that kind of beauty, but more like natural beauty,
or an appreciation.
Arts and creation, like that kind of beauty. The art and creation was the part that really, just like felt good to me. So I was like, I want like a softer existence, right? And enjoy beauty and art and appreciate that while I'm here.
Good for you for being self-aware.
I don't know.
Even as a younger version of you.
I don't know. But it hasn't been easy, like I think as a career one, as like you really have to dedicate a lot of time to that craft and to that job and learn and dedicate yourself to the process and to how things are done, What have been like some challenges for you, since we're talking about that, in like your career?
Oh, okay. Some challenges.
Yeah.
I feel like being a manager, I can be very compassionate, but sometimes I want to be liked. And it's like, but then I realized, no, it's not about being liked. Okay, so I used to, when I was not in management, I worked with this guy, and it was at a call center. And after we worked, we would all go to the bar, and he would get drunk with the whole team.
Yeah.
And then the next day, some of us would call out, not me, but some of us would call out, and he'd be like, what the, but he knows why they're calling out. But I always thought, oh my gosh, I would never do that. If I had a team, I would never go drinking and get drunk with them. Even the young me knew that. So I'm sure he stopped doing that now, because he was he was a younger manager.
Younger team members.
Yeah.
With your counterparts, maybe okay.
Yeah, exactly. But for me, it's more so sometimes I want to do well. I want to be embraced. I want to be liked. I don't care so much about being liked now. It's about being respected, right? And how do you earn that? How do you earn that respect? And there's two different types of management or more, but I don't want to lead as a manager and just tell people what to do. I want to lead as a manager who inspires people. And I have felt that my entire career where my team members, they don't want to let me down, because they have so much love for me that if they're sick, they should call out sick. But they always tough it out to be there, because they don't want to let me down or the team down. And they're really caring. I have arrived at that beautiful recipe of exactly what it takes. How much of this do you give? How much of this do you take? How much do you hold back? How friendly can you be? How understanding can you be?
Yeah.
And how stern do you have to be, right?
Yeah.
When do you have to say, this is what I expect from you,
Yep.
So it's a good mixture, and it's trial and error, but a lot of times it's reading the culture of the company, reading the people.
The individual.
Yeah, the individual. And, so figuring that out was difficult, because I suffer from anxiety and social anxiety as well. So it doesn't make it easy, because I overthink things. Sometimes I'll make a decision and I'll think, oh my gosh, I totally made the stupidest decision, and I'll overthink it. But then I've learned to say, no, I trust my gut feeling. Too late. Don't worry about it. It's done. It's gone. Yep. Let's just keep on going, So those are the tools that I had to kind of create and learn how to adopt and utilize to get myself to where I'm at today.
Yeah.
So I've had a lot of those challenges. And the second challenge would be working with men.
Yes. That's a big one.
Yes.
Even in the fashion industry, guys.
Yes. Because you told me in the fashion industry, there's a lot of male figures that are powerful. I didn't know that.
Yep.
You said that a lot of, sure, there's men and women, but a lot of the people, top players, are the male figures. And I learned that from you.
Yeah.
That's the thing is, I've learned, okay, to be taken seriously, I have to be less bubbly. I have to be less friendly. I have to, not be putting smiley faces in my emails, like little things like that. How much of that do I have to tone down to be taken seriously in the corporate world, or any industry? So being a woman, those are the things that I have to figure out, how to be stern. But you also want to bring your whole self to work.
Yeah. I would say that is the tough part. I get that, because it's like, gosh, and then you get home and you feel so masculine and so drained, because we're living in our masculine energy all the time now.
Exactly.
And we're not really embracing the feminine, the softer parts.
Yeah.
And it's a struggle.
Trickles into your dating life too sometimes.
Yes. Definitely. And for me, the challenge is the opposite of what you just said. I mean, when I was in New York, it's different, because most people, I would say, is super disciplined there. They're there to work. They're there to push through. And
I feel like New York's tough.
It's tough. We're
by
tough,
default.
though. Yeah.
By default.
Yeah. You have to be tough to make it out there. So everyone's tough. Everyone goes in and you do what you need to do.
Yeah.
But as I've gotten older into management position, I've I think over there wasn't as much of an issue, because if you're a manager and you have certain expectations and you say something like it's just done, like you do when you're in, a young junior team member, you do what your manager says, and when you're a manager, like your junior team members do what you say too. So there's not that much of an issue. But I've learned that it's very different here in California. Like,
how
we're
so?
just much more lax, and I've had to really just allow people to do things the way they think it should be done. And so I've had to kind of learn how to soften my approach and still guide and still teach and I've had to learn to be funnier and to be, sweeter and kinder. Not that I wasn't, but it's a whole different level
Yeah,
there.
you could be a lot more human. They
Yeah.
want that.
Yeah,
They want
they
that
want that.
connection.
Yeah, the Super Junior team members want that, and here in California, it's
Yeah.
not like that. Yeah, but
So-
in New York, it wasn't. It was like let's get it done. Let's get it right. Of course, people are sweet, people are loving in New York too, but everyone comes with the same mindset, same
Yeah,
mentality
Yeah,
there.
that's true.
So there's less of that gap. Yeah.
Okay. I do feel like in California, it's all about work-life balance. It's all about having that free time to take your vacations and to hang out at the beach and be happy. It is different than New York. New York is hustle bustle, and everyone's there for a reason, and everyone has got to be somewhere.
Yep.
So even when you're having fun, your designation is to have fun.
Exactly.
That's your fun time, and then on to the next after fun time.
But I definitely do appreciate it. I think being here in California, I was ready for a change anyway when I decided to move here to LA. I'm done with the hustle. I want to chill a little bit. I do appreciate the difference because I'm ready to kind of relax a little bit.
Yeah.
And it's been really nice to just be out here and slow down a little bit. I think as a manager, there are still certain goals and expectations and responsibilities. But I think it's nice to not have that pressure all the time, that hustling mentality all the time. And speaking of masculine and feminine energy, have you been able to balance that in a relationship, like being a career woman and your relationships?
I think
Romantic
so.
relationships.
I think so. And I don't know if I have this habit. I don't know if it's because of my social anxiety or if it's because of the masculinity I have to be in at work, or if it's just because it's a me thing. But when I do go on a date, if the conversation is lacking because the man is not leading the conversation, I start to take the lead, and then I feel sometimes like I'm interviewing him, and I just feel like, oh God, this sucks, because it's not cute, it's not romantic anymore. I'm just the one talking, and he's just answering the questions. Is that a me thing or is that a him thing? You know what I mean?
I would say that I wasn't always very good at balancing my relationship with my career. My career has always been number one, and I'm not sure, I'm definitely learning that now at a certain level, I'm okay with letting it take second priority. When I was younger, my career was number one over anyone, anything in life. I told you the story, like my ex would come visit me from Baltimore. I was in New York and he was in Baltimore. He would come visit and he's like, I want to be there at 6:30. And I'm like, okay. And I'd still be at work until like 8 p.m. And he's like sitting at my place by himself and he'd be so upset. And I just couldn't understand. I'm like, let me finish my work and then I'll be home. I couldn't understand. I'm lucky that the guys that I've been with have been really patient and understanding as much as they could be and supportive. But definitely I was not always very good. But to your point, I like men that are like just more masculine than I, because then when I'm with them, I'm immediately in my feminine energy.
Yeah.
And I'm immediately softer and more calm and more like happy and at peace because they now have I'll make the decision. I will decide. This is what we're gonna do. This is what I have to say and lead the conversation.
Yeah.
And I can just like relax.
Yeah. If you're a woman and you have to be hard on the outside in the world, in the workforce, you want to come home sometimes and just be able to just let all your walls down, let all your guards down, drop all of that and just be in a safe space.
Yeah.
And just be able to just exist and you're taken care of and you don't always have to figure everything out. Yeah. You don't always even have to transfer that and figure things out in the home space. It gets to be overwhelming. Yeah. And I think that for women who are masculine and then some women like to wear the pants and they want a man who's going to listen to everything they say and they're like, we're going here on Saturday.
And that's okay. If their energies work together.
Yeah, it's okay. But then like for myself, I can only speak for, and it sounds like you as well. We like to be able to just kick our shoes off when we get home and be soft and it's okay.
Yep.
We don't have to always figure it out every aspect of our lives.
Yeah. Would you be okay being financially dependent on a man?
I would be okay being financially dependent on a man now.
Yeah,
Not
I agree.
not the 20-year-old me. And because that correlates with what I said in the beginning is I feel like I like to work on my career so that I don't have to rely on a man. But now at this stage where I'm at this age and I've already gained that experience, I have the ability to get a job if I wanted to. If I have kids and I want to be a stay-at-home mom,
Yeah.
all good, all respect. That is the toughest job, is to make sure that you show up for your kiddos and you basically create responsible, loving, healthy little human beings,
Yeah.
right? Takes a lot. You have to be present.
Yeah.
Um,
They say being a homemaker is a full-time job.
it's a full-time job.
Take care of your partner and your family and the house. That's a
Yes.
full-time job.
Yes.
That's why career women can't do both. It's extremely difficult.
It's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard. Respect to homemakers and moms.
Yep.
But you're right. Like, I don't want to work at that point. If I have kids, when I have kids, I don't want to work. My husband works. I'm working just to pay
Taking care of
somebody.
the kids, yeah.
Yeah, just to pay somebody a huge amount of money to raise our child. I don't want that. So perhaps, when I have kids, I may take a break.
Yeah.
I may take a break. I'm thinking about it now. I think I'll be hesitant because I don't want to lose the momentum that I'm building.
Yeah.
But then that's a decision I'll have to make when I cross the bridge, when I get there. I really don't want somebody else raising my kids.
Yeah.
So the answer is yes, I would. I would quit my job and financially depend on my man, my husband. But knowing me, I'll probably start a business
Yeah.
from home. Yeah.
Because we like being busy. We like, being creative. We like making and doing things.
Yeah.
So, but I agree with you. At this point, I'm more okay with depending on a man financially because I know I've developed the skills necessary to earn money if I need to. But I'd be happy to dedicate my life to my partner and my family now. At the beginning, it was in my brain, I was like, no, I would never do that just because I was so young and I didn't want to not know how to earn money, not have any skills, not see the world, not and just be so dependent on someone. And we were there even as children being dependent on your parents. Like,
Yeah.
I hated that too. I hated that I was dependent on my parents as a kid, Even when I was in college, I was dependent on them sending me money and I would study abroad and be like, Dad, I bought these shoes on your credit card, like
FYI.
these Italian shoes, so it's like, I just don't like being financially dependent on someone. But I think that, again, now that I feel like I've earned my spot, I've established myself, I have skills, I really know who I am. I'm really confident in myself now. I can then fully dedicate myself to my family now.
Yeah, exactly. And I agree with you. I hate it depending on anybody, even my parents, because I don't want to have to wait until they give me permission to do something.
Right.
So I've always worked. As soon as I could work, even before I could work, I've always worked. And as soon as I could drive 15 and a half, I got my permit, because I wanted to be independent.
Yeah. Maybe we can wrap up here. What would be your advice to your younger self or like women who are in the process of, kind of building their career?
I would give myself the advice of, my God, be intentional. Like, think about what you want to do and create a formula and get there. I was really lucky that things just fell together because I had good managers, but I would be so much more intentional. And if I could go back, I would not ditch so much in high school, actually get good grades, actually go to a good school. And I would have chosen a career path that was more direct so I can just get it done and then have a much more comfortable life. I would have listened to my parents, in other words. So yes. How about yourself?
I love that. I think for me, and a lot of people ask me for career advice, and I think the thing that benefited me is because we talked about this earlier, where I had to make a conscious decision to choose between two very different careers, and I chose what I wanted to do. I knew that in order for me to succeed in choosing that other thing, I would have to work very hard to prove myself to my family and to the world. So I was very laser focused. And I would always say that to any friends and family members who ask me for career advice, like, be singularly focused on it and really learn as much as you can about that. Like my job as a technical designer, fashion technical designer, I studied fashion design and then worked in fashion design and shifted over to technical designer. If you have any questions about the fashion world, you can message me. I can explain more and help you. They say that if you read 5 books on one subject, you are essentially an expert in that area. Like in my field, I read like 10, 20 books.
Wow.
It's something that I'm passionate about, and I also know a lot about. So I've dedicated a lot of my time and my years to it. So I think that's really important when you're building your career, to really know as much as you can about that subject. And then the next advice would be, if you're really building your career, you want to move to the next step, you have to research what that next step is.
Yeah.
And understand what that means, what that entails. If you look at your manager and you're like, what did they do to get there? Like, research that. What did Ralph Lauren do to start his company? What did this, when I was, I don't know, 30, and they brought a new CEO to Ralph Lauren where I was working, and he was like 40, and I was like, how the heck does he become CEO at 40?
Wow. Yeah.
And so then I was like, okay, well, then by 40, I want to be VP too, and how do I get there?
If he could do it, I could do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think it's really, like you said, being conscious, being mindful, being intentional, and kind of studying that world and how it works and how do you move from one step to the next. That would be my advice. Although it takes a lot of work and a lot of focus and a lot of sacrifice. You will sacrifice a lot of other things in your life. But right now, based on my experience, I would say if you're going to build your career, then also learn to balance the other parts of your life too, because I would say I wasn't so good at balancing other parts in my life.
Yeah. Wow, that's amazing. Thank you for that. Yeah. I have a bonus question.
Yeah.
Fashion. Who is your favorite designer or fashion figure of all times, like top?
I would say favorite fashion figure. A lot of people would say Karl Lagerfeld, who designed for pretty much a lot of the designer fashion houses like Chanel, Fendi. But my 2 favorite brands are Chanel and Ralph Lauren. And I was lucky enough to work at Ralph Lauren. Even when I was in high school and starting design school, I was like, I want to work at Ralph Lauren, and I made that come true.
Wow.
Okay. So I think, and I also interned at Chanel. When I was studying at Parsons in New York, I was like, I'm going to go and intern at Chanel, the headquarters. Not in design because design's in Paris, but I needed to just learn from the best.
Yeah.
So I always have that mentality. I will learn from the best first, and then you can go anywhere after that.
That's the right way to do it.
But yeah, it's funny because like I'm really trying to minimize my life, and I was dating this guy, and I was like, is it weird for me to have like a book called Simple Matters on minimalism and simplifying your life, but then I also have these fashion books on Ralph Lauren and Chanel, and is that like a huge contrast? And he goes, it's not at all. They're the same, because Chanel and Ralph Lauren has a very simple fashion style, so it kind of aligns, and I was like, oh, that's cool. I've always wanted kind of like a simple life too, like refined but simple.
Yeah.
So my goal is to move in that way and balance my life in that way.
Good. I think you're doing a great job.
Trying. We'll wrap it up here. Hopefully you got a little bit of tidbits. Remember to click like and subscribe so that you know when our next episode is dropping. Thank you so much. Bye, guys.
Bye. Thank you.